Hello, it's a little update video for you today. I'm not repairing anything, but I wanted to share this with you because it pertains to something I've covered a little bit over a few videos in recent times, and that's this ring light for this microscope, for the Tomlov microscope that I got. And watch the previous video in which I go over the reasons why I thought that the the ring light was dangerous, and make your own mind up. But at that time, I was searching around on eBay for different USB powered ring lights, because this microscope has, I don't know if you can see it here, just right there, there's a USB, it says on it 5-volt output, and that's to power, literally to power something attached to this microscope, and the only thing that could be is a ring light. So I started looking for them, and I found different ones like this one, this Mulcourt iFixes, slightly iffy, definitely not iFixit, IL37 microscope polarized optical system LED, illuminating ring light, 96 pieces LED, light beads, microscope glare proof, light source. I did add this to my Amazon wish list, and someone's very kind, and we'll go over that in a second actually. But when I looked at this listing, I wasn't sure at first glance what was going on. And when you search for these things, they don't usually say whether they're USB powered or not. And I didn't want, obviously, a mains powered one. I wanted a USB powered light to plug into the scope. It doesn't say anywhere on this listing whether it's USB powered or not. In fact, if you go down to the more detail section down here, it says power source is power source, which doesn't help anyone. But if you do carry on scrolling down, you get down to this part here, and this very nice chap, Mr. C, actually does say that the ring light is USB powered. And he also goes into another really cool thing about it. It's the killer feature is the polarizing feature. The principle is that there is a polarizing filter for the LED lights, creating a polarized light source, and there is also a polarized filter to cover the microscope lens. Filters can be adjusted relative to each other, which this achieves is that very reflective surfaces can be dimmed relative to less reflective surfaces. I thought that sounded interesting, so I added it to my Amazon wish list and then forgot about it. I then modified this light so that it was powered by 12 volts instead of mains, made it safe, and it works fine. It's not ideal the way I've done it. I've put a buck regulator in there, which I've tuned down, so I turned the voltage up until the LED lights just lit, and then a little bit more just to give the right brightness, or something like the right brightness. But I've got no control over the brightness on this, and if I have the scope up high off of the desk, off of the workbench, the light doesn't really give me enough illumination at that distance. It's fine for close-up work, so it's not ideal, which made it a really pleasant surprise when this popped up in the post. I've already opened this up because I'm an impatient man, and it is the iFixes IL37 polarized anti-glare lamp, and this was a gift from Darren Johnston. Thank you very much, Darren. That was really kind of you. And as you can see on that listing, it wasn't cheap. So this is going to be a replacement for that one. And it comes with this polarizing filter that pops it into the middle there. And this section here is polarized as well. So you can, and it's rotatable here. Right, so let's put this together. Let's take this one off of here and put this one on and see how we get on. Now, I had to put some tape around the bottom of this microscope because the ring light would just fall off of the plastic bit here. But this tape isn't. It's kind of just slipping. It's not ideal, so I might have to find a different way to do this. But the thing with this ring light is that these screws, these set screws, have like a nylon end. It's probably to stop you damaging the scope, but I mean they probably still would damage it anyway. But these ones are metal, so that's a worry. But I'm going to just try and put it on there carefully and try not to crush it too much. Hopefully it fits. Oh, that's interesting. Right, so the obviously the difference in these is the size of this aperture in the middle, and this doesn't actually fit over, especially with my piece of hokey bit of tape on there, over the end of this. But the screws will still, because the screws are set back and up a little bit. So the scope will sit around this middle bit here, and it's kind of chamfered to hold it in place, and then these should clamp onto the barrel of the scope. Just realised I didn't have my microphone on. Right, hopefully I'll be able to just muddle that bit in. Okay, I can probably take that tape off there now. That has actually got that really nicely. It's fixed on there much better than the other one. I don't know why. I always found that one, I think it's those nylon set screws were just too slippery against plastic. So I've got too much cable here. So I'm going to have to find a way to hide some of this, but I'm just going to plug it in for now. Okay. So there's no illumination at the moment, but there is a control on the front here. If I press that, it comes on. And then I've got a rocker switch to change the brightness up and down. Let's actually point it at something without the polarizing filter on for now and see what it does. I'm going to need a circuit board. All right, let's turn the light on. Oh, it was on. Let's turn it up. So, yeah, look, this is a nice shiny bright bit over here. I've got this set up quite high. Let's go down a bit. So I'm going to say this is not as bright as the other one. I'm still quite a way off of the motherboard. I'm probably, I don't know, let's measure that with a ruler. I'm about 4 inches, 10 centimeters off of the motherboard. And the picture is perfectly acceptable, actually. I don't need anything any brighter than that, I don't think. Especially looking at that bit. I think it's actually doing some white balancing there. But what happens when oh, it said something in the review about chip markings. So these ones down here. Okay, so look, the reflections there are quite bad. Now this should be interesting. What's this? How is that supposed to fix to this? Okay, so I assume that that this polarizing filter would actually sit underneath here, but it doesn't. It sits in this top bit here. Okay. I did have the inbuilt microscope lights on their lowest setting, but they weren't. They were basically that bright, which is not very bright at all. So let's turn these ones back on. My microscope's just gone nuts. Wow, it just tried to focus to infinity. This is part of the problem I was having before. It does not like having a screw pressed in the front of it. Oh, well, I'm going to have to power cycle this scope because something's gone horribly wrong. Yes, I think this is broken. Why was it not doing? Oh, I think it might be the polarizing filter is messing with it. Okay, so I don't think I can use the autofocus, but now I've got it set. Oh, that is quite interesting. So where were those shiny chips? So they were more like, so that one's really difficult to read, but I can turn this. It's quite a good, if you haven't got an autofocus scope, this isn't, this is actually quite a nice thing to have. You can see there the reflections just disappear, but the light is still there. It makes it into like this horrible, actually quite horrible flat light. Does give you a lot better and clearer view of each solder joint though, but reflections can help you a little bit in certain situations. So look at all of that reflection over there. I can just basically turn that off. But with that in place, if I press autofocus, doesn't like it at all. I wonder if it will autofocus. Okay, it will do it with the polarization set to shiny. It will autofocus. Still not happy though. Okay, so I think what I'm going to have to do here is remove that filter, put the and just put the light on as it is. But the main thing is I've now got a USB powered microscope, Ringlight, and I can get rid of an extra wire that I don't have to unplug. So when I want to take this off of the arm to make some space here, for instance, I'll be recording a podcast tonight. I use this arm as my microphone boom. Well, I can just unplug. Oh, I don't need to unplug. That one won't need to be unplugged, but I can just unplug the power and HDMI, which I hate unplugging those. Undo this, and the microscope comes away. Marvelous. So again, thank you, Darren, very much for your kind gift. That was really, really appreciated. Cheers. It's quite, actually my my top-down microscope has a polarizing filter on it, so it should, yeah, look. It's magic. It's just magic. Clever stuff. See you in the next one.